And I'm really excited to be here and to share this material with you. It is such a work of the heart to feel involved with material that dives right into Mother Earth and speaks of our belonging and our connectedness. So I'm really excited for you to be here. And there are two things that I feel that this session and the subsequent sessions will do. They're going to help us with self-discovery. I feel like right now we're pilgrims. We're starting a pilgrimage, and we're beginning the process of separating from our typical lives to explore Mother Earth. And through this process, we're going to have some discovery. And the second piece of this for me is that through the self-discovery and through this dedication to working with Mother Earth, it's a way that we can keep our dedication to our Mother Earth and to our spiritual lives top of mind. So just starting with basic introductions, there I am, there's Wendy. And you know me, I'm Shana Robinson. I'm Dana's sidekick when we facilitate workshops. But over the years, I've developed this incredible sense of connection to the land. And I've found that my need for belonging, it's often been satisfied through an affiliation with place. Over decades ago, this kind of affiliation for place started with what I call my seeds of earth love when I was at summer camp. And it was down, it was dirty, we were in the earth, we were camping, sleeping on the ground. And that's what really fostered this experience and this exploration. So it's my intention through this seed of earth love that I've experienced to share with you ways perhaps to alleviate some alienation and ways to reawaken a knowing that's been overshadowed by our lives. The busyness in our lives, the kind of rushing about that we do that kind of puts blinders on us, so we miss the forest for the trees. So that's me. And Wendy, I'm going to let you say hey. And Wendy, my guru, she's my technical person. She's my go-to person. And this wouldn't happen without Wendy. So thank you, Wendy.
Thank you, Shana. It has been an absolute joy to help you develop this program. I'm just so excited to be here tonight. So welcome, everybody. I thought maybe I could take, if it's okay, Shana, a moment to sort of introduce people to the tool. Do you want me to do that now?
Oh, yeah. Point out the buttons. That'd be great.
Wonderful. So thank you. And I see Joni and Jeff have both joined us as well. So I think everyone's here.
Oh, great. Hi, guys.
Let me just take a moment to walk you all through the tool so you can use whatever capabilities you might need. You might notice on the left-hand side of your screen, you see a chat box. That chat box will enable you to send messages to us or to everyone. So as we go through the presentation, as Shana's asking questions, feel free to go ahead and respond in that chat box. We'll both see that and we can respond to what you say. Right now, I think most of you are muted. You can mute yourself by the little button up where it says mic on the top of your screen. If when you're not speaking, you could mute yourself, that would be great just because it will help out with minimizing feedback and stuff like that. So you can chat, you can certainly speak, and you should feel free to just remember to unmute yourself or we won't hear you. You may also notice up where the mic is, there's a button that says more, and that would give you the choice of, it should somewhere give you the choice of saying what your mood is, and I'm actually not seeing that right now, but if you see it, that means that you can actually raise your hand. So if you want to raise your hand, I'll see that your hand is raised and I can call on you if you want to ask a question, but you don't want to interrupt Shana's flow. A couple of things you might notice. You might notice a slight delay in Shana advancing slides, so it might seem like she's moved on a second before the slide does. Don't worry about that. That'll catch up. If something happens and you get all mucked up, I'm not sure what that might be, you can always exit out of the meeting and enter back into it, and that shouldn't cause you any problems. And if for some reason you have to step away or you have a computer problem or something like that, We are recording this session, and you will receive an email with the recording on Monday. So while we're thrilled to have you here live, and we hope that you're here live for the entire hour, certainly should anything happen, you won't miss the opportunity to listen to the content. I think that's all. If anybody has, oops, somebody said to me, I'm fading in and out. I'm hoping this is a little bit better. Thank you, Jeff, for pointing that out. And I think that's actually all I had to say, so I will turn it back over to Shana.
Great. Thank you, Wendy. I really appreciate that. This is exciting. Here we go. They say that we teach that which we most want to know. And for me, that's truly the case with this workshop online. I really want to know and understand my connection to Mother Earth. I want to connect to her. I want to rekindle my sense of belonging. I want to be able to serve her. I want to know that I'm truly a family member. And as I make these affirmations, what I'd like to point out to you on your worksheets, which I hope you were all able to pull up, no pre-work required, is that perhaps that's stimulating for you some thought about your intention, your desire as you engage in this work. Because the stronger your intention is, the more directed your intention is as we begin this, the more I think you can get out of this work and be able to go with it. So those are some of my intentions in starting this and doing this. So let's take a moment to pay attention to the present moment and get us all here. I mean, we've all had days, it's been crazy or it's been not crazy, whatever it's been. So let's get settled into this space, into this place, into this time. Let's build our altar. When I sent out my initial email about this meeting, I asked that you had some kind of cloth that you could put down. I asked that you bring a candle and a piece of something beautiful from nature. It could be a rock, a shell, a piece of bark, a flower, crystal, whatever is beautiful for you. And what we're doing here is we're laying a foundation. This is a place of focus, and it can help us to settle. It helps us to establish, as I said, a place within space, within time, so that we can begin to open to different channels of information that flows in and around us. The altar, in essence, is a tool. So if you haven't already done so, if you could take your cloth, spread it out, put your candle on it, put your object of nature next to it, and if your space allows for it, if it's safe to do so, light your candle if it's not already lighted. If you can't light it because it seems a little dangerous, imagine the warm glowing flame. What we've just done in lighting our candle is we have welcomed in the light. All of us lighting almost at the same time. It connects us via the flame to each other. The flame is reminding us that we are the light and that we can shine our light forward. And as we do so, it forms a web. The web supports us, and it allows us to open to greater and deeper aspects of ourselves and our world. Now that we've got this space set and we've welcomed in the light, we're going to settle even a little more. And we're going to return to the meditation we did if you were at the introductory webinar. One adjustment to it, when I get to the point where I prompt you to do some humming and toning, it's my understanding that that doesn't translate real well when I'm doing it and guiding it. So I'm going to ask you to do that on your own and recognize, please, that it is important to give some volume, some air passing through those vocal cords. That really helps in the whole process. So let's begin by setting our bodies. If you need to sit on the floor, that's fine. Your chair upright. We're going to begin with the idea of meditating like a mountain. This is about settling in and settling down. You are now in a place to be. Notice your posture. Your spine and your vertebrae can be like a stack of coins. Close your eyes and imagine you are a mountain. Time for you is eternal. Take your seat. Your posture becomes imperial and commanding. Rest in this for a few moments. Feel what it's like to have this, to hold this posture. Ask yourself, what is it like to meditate like a mountain? Now, let's orient toward beauty. In one tradition, the next step is to meditate like a poppy, a beautiful flower. Since you have a natural object of beauty on your altar, you may use it as your focus. Meditate like it. Sense it in as many ways as possible. You may reach out to it physically and touch it. Ask yourself, what is it to meditate like this object from nature? Rest in this connection for a few moments. Can you notice where you're having thoughts about this object? Does this action of thinking center around your head? Somewhere near your head? Elsewhere? See if you can gently, very gently, draw that action into the area of your heart. And now sense this object. Extend to this object from this place, sensing the beauty and the light. And ask yourself, what is it like to meditate like this beautiful gift from nature? We've established our seat. We have sensed beauty. Now, let's meditate like the ocean. The ocean is a vast landscape. It is a place of great cycles and tides. It is a major source of the oxygen we breathe. As we meditate like the ocean, we notice our breath. We breathe deeply into our bellies and slowly exhale. We breathe in. We exhale. Slowly, rhythmically, like the waves of the ocean coming to shore and receding, in and out. Find your pace. Meditate like the ocean. Let's rest here a few moments. Finally, we meditate like a bird. Birds and other animals often murmur, vocalize in contentment. For those schooled in certain traditions, this vocalization is a prayer or an invocation of the Creator. For us, it is a sound we make that connects us to Mother Earth. Her vibration is always with us. Tone softly on your exhale. Feel the vibration of your delicate humming move throughout your body. You may use the vowels ah, a, e, o, u. Choose whatever's comfortable to you. Slowly, Slowly hum. As you tone, extend your awareness out from your body to encompass your altar, the room you're in, the neighborhood, your city, the countryside, and as far as you can, just humming outward. When you've extended as far as you can, hold that sense of extension. Your toning may be barely audible, or it may have slipped internal. Let's rest here for a few moments, and then we'll have a few moments of silence. Slowly bring yourself back from the birds, the ocean, the poppy, and the mountain. Take a deep breath. Stretch and wiggle. Open your eyes. And let's make our way into the bedrock. The title of today's session is The Bedrock. And the bedrock is that unbroken solid rock we don't see because it's overlaid in most places by soil or rock fragments, vegetation. But bedrock is also any firm foundation or basis. And I asked you in your worksheet, which you can begin later today, if you haven't had a chance to look at it, that's fine, to begin thinking about bedrock and the idea of foundation. As pilgrims on our way, doing this journey, this exploration of Mother Earth and our relationship, it helps us to know what kind of foundation we have. How are we entering into this? What's supporting us as we go forward? And so I've asked you to consider the kinds of things that you need as support. And I think one of the first ones that I've always found very important has been the intention. By setting an intention, I feel that gives me support for my work. So there's that very metaphoric idea of bedrock, support, foundation. But as we take it actually to the ground, and very literally, there is a bedrock. There's something outside our windows, outside our doors, that supports everything that we see. If it weren't for the bedrock, would our buildings stand? If it weren't for the bedrock, where would the trees root and grow, and how would we have soil? There's something underneath. And so to consider the bedrock means to begin to understand our foundations as human beings and our foundations in relationship to the planet. And there she is, Mother Earth, Terra. I've always loved this, looking at Earth against a black sea that just points out to me that I have a really deep and abiding relationship with that blue dot, because without it, where would I be? And the quote there flips that idea around. And I love what Thich Nhat Hanh says. You carry Mother Earth within you. She's not outside of you. Mother Earth is not just your environment. In that insight of interbeing, it's possible to have real communication with the Earth, which is the highest form of prayer. Terra comes from the Latin. It means Earth. It's our home planet. So when I speak of Terra, it's with the sense of Mother Earth. She's the being that nurtures us, provides all our needs, water, air, and food. And since we haven't figured out how to live off of her, we better figure out how to get along with her and recognize the sense that we have belonging to her. The next word I'll use a lot is landscape. Landscape, a section or expanse of rural scenery, usually extensive. It can be seen from a single viewpoint. Comes from the Dutch. People thought of it as something that could be painted when they used the word landscape. I don't know if you all can find your keyboards, but I'd like to ask you, when you think of a patch of scenery that is picturesque, does something come to mind for you? I know, like Sand, you're a hiker. Jeff, you're by the sea. Anybody got anything they want to plunk down on there? What comes to mind for you that's picturesque, where you can begin to have a sense of this expanse or landscape? Anybody have any thoughts? Go ahead and type them in. Mountains. Thanks, Wendy. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Oh, and desert. Yeah, that's very true. Very true. When we think of some of the great landscape painters, those are definitely the kinds of things that they paint. You know, the desert. And they call to us. These places call to us. There's something very, almost like Thich Nhat Hanh says, inside us. Oh, that we view the ocean and the sun rising. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, these are things that are such a part of us, and hopefully we take time to notice them. Space. That's another word that's important. The idea that there is a medium that holds all this action with which we're involved. I love this idea of space as a vessel, holding action, holding objects and events. And then place. That's a particular portion of space. That's the ground of experience, feeling, and thought. This is where it gets to be very important for us, because while we can recognize and understand that space is a vessel of all, it comes down to place where we begin to have connection and belonging. Sometimes we have greater connection or less connection. Depending on the kinds of connection we have, we begin to derive meaning from the connection. So we drive through landscapes every day. I mean, we get in our car, we go to work, we take a walk, we bicycle to the store. We're all interacting with landscapes and places every day. The big question is, how much do we connect to them? How much do we feel we belong to them? And where is the meaning we take from some of that interaction? I like to think about it this way, in that we have grown out of our Mother Earth, just as we've grown out of our biological mother. During the 9 months of gestation, as our mother ate, as she drank, as she breathed, all kinds of particles, all kinds of pieces, parts of her interaction with Mother Earth went into forming us. We were informed by them. And that on the day of our birth, our tiny body already knew the place and the place knew us. And in that way, we're connected. Just by the fact of our birth, there is this interchange. Various people around the world celebrate this kind of connection to Mother Earth, and they do it in ceremony. What I'd like to do now is have you all close your eyes, and we're going to talk about belonging, a little bit about belonging. We're going to walk a trail of belonging, and we're going to use the inner screen of your mind. Belonging means to be in relationship to something, to be an adherent or an inhabitant. So as you rest in this quiet place of your mind for a few moments, sense the darkness. And then I'd like you to begin to notice what's around you. And out of the darkness behind your eyes, you hear the sound of a baby's first cry. Hearing that cry, you know a tiny one has just been born. You listen, and you hear the gratitude of its parents. But you also sense the inherent danger in the following days. It's understood that it will take 8 days for this child to decide whether to stay on Earth in this West African community. For 8 days, 8 long days, the infant will be kept inside. You wait through this 8 days with the parents. The 8th day arrives, and the child's extended family gathers to welcome the infant into the community and to the earth. You watch as the child is taken outside for the first time and placed gently upon the ground. Its relatives take the umbilical cord which has been saved, and they place it in a calabash. They sprinkle it with herbs, and they bury it under a tree behind the house. You understand that the child is now Mother Earth's child. The umbilical cord that once attached this child to its biological mother has been transferred to the earth, Mother Earth. You smile and you listen to the rhythms of the celebration for a moment before drifting back into the darkness behind your eyes. You rest here for a short time, and then suddenly your attention is drawn to a figure. This figure resolves out of the darkness, and you can see that it is a lone woman who is obviously very pregnant. You notice her walking away from the village, and you question this. You sense contractions in her body. You know that the delivery of her child is near. You follow discreetly, and you recognize her as a Kung woman. And, in the tradition of all mothers before her, she walks for just a way, and she stops. She makes a hole in the warm sandy earth, a kind of nest into which her baby will be born. You watch as she lines the hole with leaves and squats over it. You wait at a distance, giving her privacy, as she breathes heavily and pushes her baby forth into the world. She rests a short time before her breath once again is hard. She pushes and delivers the placenta. She does not cut the cord. Curious, you step forward and watch as she places the placenta next to the child, covering it with a leaf. It acts as a kind of guardian. You listen as she walks back to the village, calling to the older women to let them know she's given birth. Voices answer. You hear excitement among the women. But soon the voices fade, and once again you're left in the cozy darkness behind your eyes. From this darkness you're roused once again by the sound of steps moving through the vegetation. The steps are strong and the stride is long. The shape of a man appears, a man walking deliberately on a mission. You follow him at a discreet distance and notice that he carries a small bundle. You scent upon him the newness of fatherhood. He stops near a tree, and you notice him placing the bundle in the bark of the tree. He speaks a little prayer as he does this, and you learn that it is his newborn child's umbilical that he leaves with the tree. His tradition says that this will help the child conquer its fear of the night. The man moves away from the tree, his errand complete, and you slip away from him to rest once more in the darkness behind your eyes. Slowly return from that darkness. When you're ready, you can open your eyes, and you can see the trail of belonging that we've walked. What we've witnessed are a number of ways that people have very physically tied newborns to the land. While it may be easy to think of these customs as very exotic or distant from us in place and time, a lot of them persist into the present. In fact, there was a great book I read not too long ago called The Distance Between Us. It was a memoir by a woman named Reina Grande. And she wrote of her early life in a Mexican village where there was a lot of upheaval, transition, moving about. What kept her feeling very strong and feeling very stable was the knowledge that her umbilical cord had been buried under the dirt floor of her first home. And even though many things ripped her apart from family members or took her great distances, the sense of distance was shrunk because she was tied to this place. So we, likewise, and I guess I really should ask you how you feel about this. I think that as these examples show us, that there is a sense of us being in a betwixt and between place, a place between before life and living, until somehow we're actually connected to the earth. And this begs the question, hands up if anybody felt that they had a ceremony like that that tied them to the earth. Anybody have a sense of that? And this would be something perhaps even earlier than...
People can raise their hand, so maybe they can just comment in the comment field.
Oh, okay, that's great. Yeah. So certainly, certain traditions have baptisms in which people are welcomed into a community. But, I haven't really seen too many people that I've known have a tie-in to their birthplace at the time of their birth. Another question for you. Who lives, anybody out there, less than 50 miles from their birthplace? Does anybody live less than 50? Oh, several of your friends do, Sand? Actually, they haven't gone that far? Cool. I think it's pretty unusual that we live anywhere close to our birthplaces. So when we start thinking about this and our modern civilized life, our connection to Mother Earth. Oh, really, Joni, you live only 4 miles from yours? Wow, that's awesome. You got to get out more, girlfriend. Oh, that's wonderful. Most of us don't have that experience, though, of living that close to a home base. And in our modern world, we're pushed around by a lot of things that really tear at that fabric of belonging. And when that's shifted around and torn up, it's usually because we're moving. And the one thing I do want to say, though, a lot of people will think, well, nomads move. But they're very typical patterns that a nomad has. Those seasonal patterns, it's cycles, and it's places that they visit on a very regular basis. We don't seem to have that. We move. So what are some of the reasons you've had to move? Anybody got any reasons they moved? What, school? Anything? You can just type them in. Reasons you've had to move. Job? Yeah. School? Yeah. Great. Thank you. Marriage? Yeah. School? Mm-hmm. Totally. Those are incredible reasons. And they push all of us. All of us get pushed by those kinds of reasons. Oh, that's right. Yeah, Joni, your father was transferred, right? And Joni, you were with your son because he was skating. Right. Great. Well, here we go. Our transient society, why we move. There are a lot of family reasons that we move. In fact, marriage seems to be one of the biggest relocators for people. And I love that anthropology has words for these things. So if a couple goes to live with a bride's family, it's called a uxorolocal. If they go to live with a groom's family, it's called virolocal. We've got ailing parents that move in with children, move home after college. All sorts of family reasons. And it's great that you all said school because that didn't make it to my list, so I'll have to amend my list. There are work reasons too. Someone in the household gets a new job. They need to move to find a job. People in corporate jobs are often transferred, as are those in the military. Anybody familiar with the word trailing spouse? Anybody been a trailing spouse? How does it feel to be the trailing spouse, the trailing one? Yeah, there you go. Mm-hmm. Thank you. Yeah, so moved about, not even necessarily at your own volition entirely. Housing reasons. People move, they downsize. They want to own a home. They move from an apartment with the economic downturn, foreclosures, big housing reasons to move. Health reasons. A family member suffers from a regional allergy, they move. People live in the shadow of a coal plant, something's going on, they want to leave, family sick. And then we have climate. Just visited New Orleans. Oh, and many people there had, because of Katrina. Absolutely. Granny doesn't want to shovel snow. Pappy's arthritis hates the cold. So there are a lot of reasons that people move, and moving causes us to reevaluate our sense of belonging, and it begs us to readjust our sense of meaning and attachment to places. And I remember when there were times when I was called to move that somehow where I'd left took on a greater significance than it had when I was there. There's the whole culture shock and reverse culture shock thing that can happen. So we have a very transient society, and when we're transient and we're moving, a lot of times what we're doing then is just getting to know the territory in the new place. Yes, we're in a new place, our attention is heightened, but our focus can be narrowed because we're just working to survive. And I love that line from the song Rock Island in The Music Man, where the salesmen are just pointing out time and time again, you got to know the territory, got to know the territory. So change shifts our focus, it narrows our focus, and sometimes in that narrowing of focus and learning to navigate in different ways, certain parts of our environment and our experience fall to the side because we're so eager to find a comfort zone. And this is another question I have for people. As you're getting to know your territory and trying to find a comfort zone, what are the first places you go to? Are they man-made places? Are they places in nature? Where does your race to find your comfort zone take you? I know when we first moved to Easton, I had to make sure that there was a good library. That was one of my comfort zones. I had to make sure I knew where I could find organic food. Anybody have any other ideas? What's your comfort zone spot? Where do you begin to establish belonging? And is it through belonging? Just a thought. Sometimes people join clubs like the Y to establish belonging, to learn the territory. I think as we try to establish connections, water for the canoe and hiking trails. Great. Thank you, Sand. Yeah. And that's great. It's great. Library for you too. I can't see all of that comment, but thank you. I don't know that there's always a race to nature. There seemed to be when I was a kid, a race to find the right tree to climb when we moved house. But then as I got older, things that were important for survival, like the job, the commute, the parking, those kinds of things seem to take precedence. And as we make changes, oh, you're awesome, Annie, thanks, parks and green spaces, yeah. As we make changes, there are times when we are so involved in what we're doing and trying to survive that we do miss the forest for the trees. And part of what the Terra Science is about is to, once again, open to the perception of things. And I like to talk about this a little bit, the invisible gorilla test. Because as we get to know our territory, sometimes we get this inattentional blindness. The experiment was conducted by Daniel Simmons and Christopher Chabris. He had a group of people, they both had a group of people watch a video and count the number of times a basketball was passed between groups of people. People who were watching the video of the passing of the basketball between various people were so involved in counting and getting that information that they totally missed when a woman walked through with an umbrella and somebody else walked through the scene in a gorilla suit. About 50% didn't notice that there was a woman or a person in a gorilla suit during the experiment. They were so involved in passing the ball. So we zip through places many times, and we become inattentional. We take for granted what's there. So there's another word that I think is important too as we look for this sense of belonging and meaning. And it can arise out of a sense of atavism. Atavism is a cultural tendency for people in the modern era to revert to ways of thinking and acting of a former time. Probably an idealization of what's going on in the past. For me, there are two forms of atavism. There's this idea of ancestral atavism, going back to where your ancestors were. I can remember that was really something that was important for my father. Because his parents came from Ireland, that place, whether he visited it or not, offered the sense of belonging. So that ancestral track was very important to him. And then I know belonging. We have belonging that comes from childhood. It takes us right to that favorite woods, our favorite treehouse. And when we sense the belonging, there's meaning that comes from it. As we build on this idea of meaning, for example, with my father with Ireland, green hills of Ireland, or things that represented that or appeared to be like that had meaning for him. The treehouse, it was in a pine forest. Pine forests have meaning for me. The word, I love it, atavism, comes from the Latin word for great-great-great-grandfather. And I'd also suggest that this idea of atavism, for those of you who have had past life experiences, may also experience belonging and significance from these. So Barbara, maybe the desert. I'm just using you as an example. The fact that it's a landscape and you mentioned it, perhaps it has meaning to you because of a past life experience in the desert. Who knows? But some of these things we draw meaning from. So meaning and belonging, they come together. They're what really gives us a sense of understanding about a place. And when all of these things come together and work for us, where we have a sense of belonging that may hearken to the past, we have a sense of a place being very picturesque, we have the sense of a place to which we do afford attention, we end up perhaps with a sweet spot. Sweet spots are places that bring us a sense of harmony, bring us a sense of well-being. They can be trees, gardens, playgrounds, picnic spots. What kind of sweet spots do you have? Can anybody have a special sweet spot? Is it like the rock on Hedgehog Mountain up in New Hampshire? Who's got a sweet spot they'd like to share? Oh, your deck. That beautiful. Here too with flowering plants. Just, that's wonderful. That's lovely. Sweet spots. When we're in a sweet spot and have that sense of harmony, there's a stimulation that happens in our heart and we begin a loving exchange. And it's through this loving exchange that we begin to have more and deeper communication with the earth. We can correct our inattentional blindness and we can begin to perceive the intelligence behind it, behind those places, the intelligence that is of the earth. So let's get comfortable for another moment here. I just want to introduce another idea about our awareness. Our awareness exists in multiple fields. If you want to just close your eyes and consider following my words, that's fine. One of the first fields that we sense and experience is the present field, which we call our situational field. It's what is around us. It's what we're experiencing in this moment. It's our situation. It's a situational field. We're very much involved in it. And yet there's another field beyond it. And if we have this sense of our awareness, let's just think about what our awareness is. If you were to take away the sound of my voice, take away the sense that you're breathing and alive, go beyond your thoughts, there's still something. There's still something there that knows. And that's the awareness that I'm talking about. So that awareness is in your situation. And let's just take a moment to extend it from your situation into the generational field. This is the field of family and friends and ancestors. And then you move your awareness a little farther, push it, gently, 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 and become aware of the great teachers who may have informed you, great gurus, heads of lineages, and recognize they are present in your awareness as well. And push just a little more, extend gently, just a little more, to all of the traditions with which you're involved. Know that these traditions are also bodies of wisdom and light and intelligence, and they inform you, all of these traditions. And then our final extension into the spirit world. The sense that they too, some people call them archetypes, some people call them spirits, deities. These are the spirits of all the traditions. Within these are spirits of places. Slowly, slowly pull your attention back. When you're ready, you may open your eyes. And the last couple pieces of language I'm going to share with you as we build this foundation, understand what it is to be native to a place and to belong. Autochthony. I love this word. It's got a lot of consonants in it. This is how we really belong to a place, where we are tied, where we're connected, and we may be tied to more than one. And I like this example with Crocodile Dundee because it always impressed me that the place that was so important to him was Belonga Mick. Belonga, a variation of the word Bailong from the Papua New Guinea dialect, meaning belonging to. And while we see Dundee making his way in New York, he doesn't belong there because he's the one who belongs to the land in Australia, in the outback. He can live in New York City, but that's not where his ties are. So you can almost see him as a great example of someone who rose up out of the land in a particular place. And then the last word is biophilia. It's another way we relate to places. It's another reason why we connect to places. Biophilia. It's a love of life or living systems. And the word really talks to that connection and that physiological response we have in places that we love. And as we have that deep sense of belonging, and as we begin to experience that deep interconnection that touches our physiology, we begin to have the seeds of emotional energy and connection, which talk to us about an exchange of power and awareness. And as we exchange power and recognize power and interface with power, we can have deeper clearer kinds of communication with the land upon which we live, the land where we visit, and the land with which we interact. So, does anybody have any questions at this point about what we've gone through and about the nature of establishing the kinds of ways we feel belonging, the kinds of ways we begin to extract meaning from the sense of belonging? A lot of it has to do with connecting. No, that's okay. That's great. Well, what I'm going to suggest is that you take your worksheets from this session. You'll be able to certainly review this. We'll be getting out a link to you for this. We're going to have a closing in just a minute. What I suggest to do in the upcoming week before our next session is to take a journey to your power animals or teachers and see if they can offer a ceremony that you can perform to establish belonging to Mother Earth. Now, there may have been ways that you've done this in your traditions and varied traditions. I like the use of the word ceremony here rather than ritual. Victor Turner uses it in the sense that a ceremony is a confirmation of a relationship versus a ritual, which often, involves a transformative event. This is a confirmation. This is a true understanding of, yes, I am connected. And once you get your ceremony, I suggest that if it's possible to perform it or adapt it to perform it, that you do so. And this can be part of setting your intention to pursue the rest of this program for the next 5 sessions. All right. Let's just do one more little piece for closing here. I want to, first of all, before we get to the closing, I do want to thank all of you for being here, for your participation. It's great to have you here. It's very heartwarming for me to be able to share some of these ideas with you from Terra Signs, and to have Wendy help me do this. It's a blessing. Thank you, Wendy. And my gratitude and appreciation goes to all of you. Thank you so much. So now let's take a moment to relax once again, and we're going to focus in on our altars. We have a cloth that provides a base. It's defining the space that you can occupy anytime you need to feel calm and centered. There's an object of beauty that ties you to nature and Mother Earth. And there's a candle that represents your inner heart light that's part of a vast web of consciousness that extends in all directions and into all dimensions. Take a moment to breathe once again and connect to the ocean. The ocean is another metaphor for our participation in a vast ground of being. Know that what is a part of you is also a part of the ocean. Your very cellular makeup and your breath are all reflections of that great body of water, that great body of blue water that gives our mother her portrait in space. She is our pale blue dot. We are her children. She shares with us her awareness and nurturing. Feel the power in the great systems of which we are a part, power that flows to us as energy and intelligence. It is up to us how we approach and use that power. It is up to each of us to make wise choices as we step out into the world and interact with all the great forces of nature and life. Working with the land and landscapes is an avenue to discover and understand our multidimensionality. It is a doorway to expanding and developing our consciousness. As we do this, we serve the world, our Mother Earth, and all our relations, the stones, the plants, the animals, each other, and our typically unseen cohabitants. Our hearts can grow, and we can find the passion and courage to stand in our loving authenticity and be. Take a deep breath. It's time to shift away from our landscape work until next week. You may spend a few moments every day thinking about some of the lists you might make from your homework pages, places where you feel belonging or a sense of well-being. Add to them. Journal about them if you wish. Compare them. And if you wish to make adjustments in your altar, do so in preparation for our next session together. Thank you for sharing your exploration with me. I honor you for your efforts on behalf of yourself and the Mother. And until next time, touch the earth, light your inner fire, and shine. And if you need to email thoughts or questions, comments, you know where I am. And thank you. Thank you, Wendy.
Thank you, Shana. Thank you, everyone.